Oh, little one. Oh no. When reviewing or writing a scene, we need to think about what's the information that we're trying to convey here? What's the purpose of this scene? Why is anything here? Because in storytelling, usually everything should have a purpose. Let's do a little thought experiment. Let's say we have a character who has trouble eating too much. Okay? And we need to convey that to an audience. Now, we can do it in two ways, really. We can just have the characters sit there and go, I'm really struggling with my weight and it's making me unhappy. Or we can show this person eating a lot and stepping on a scale and they don't like the number they see. They big frown. Oh, I'm overweight. I'm not happy, right? In both of those examples, the same information is conveyed, but by showing rather than telling, as the adage always goes, yes, I'm sure everyone's so tired of hearing this, but it makes for a more interesting story, right? So, how much should we show? Like, when does the point come across? And I think that is my biggest part with Pluribus. And that's something that we can see in this scene here. Without spoilers, there is a character in Pluribus that is taking advantage of the situation and living life lavishly the way they've always wanted to live it. Now, this is revealed to us, I believe, in the second episode. And I think in the third episode as well. And now again in the fifth episode. So this scene starts off. We're seeing this lavish penthouse casino situation with beautiful people all around, and it's the kind of the lifestyle that some guy like this wants to live, surrounded by people that adore him, and he's playing poker and it's down to the last hand, and there's some evil guy who's his adversary, and but he's going to save the day, right? The thing is, we know that this is a farce. He knows it's a farce. The hive mind knows it's a farce. And yet we spend 5 minutes on this whole scene, reestablishing the thing that's already been established multiple times. His character isn't one that needs to be firmly reestablished constantly. It's just such a simple one, right? It's the less complicated an idea is, the less time you need to spend explaining it. And yet this idea is explained to us over and over and over, and in a way that's just not very interesting. Like, I don't know, maybe some people saw it and they loved it, but I mean, we've got an hour to work with here, right? And I think we don't get to Carol confronting this guy until like 10 minutes in. I think it was like 8 or 10 minutes in. And like, what are you doing? So then I find myself asking the same question. What's the point? What are we trying to establish here? What new information are we trying to establish? Because I kind of thought that we already knew all of this stuff about this guy. Especially after a big cliffhanger, I'm just sat there and I'm bored because I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, I get it. Yeah, we know all this. Like, this isn't conveying any kind of information that's interesting. And you might just be saying, well, that's just the point, or sometimes you need a long scene to establish things like this. And sometimes the gratuitous length of a scene can very much be the point of the scene and can reinforce the thing that, you're trying to convey to your audience. And I think Pluribus does an excellent job with this in the grocery store scene, where Carol is like, I want my grocery store. And the hive mind says, okay, we can do that for you, but it's not very efficient. She says, I don't care. I want my groceries. And like 18 trucks roll up and 300 people roll out. And we're seeing this marvelous scene unfold while she just stands at the sidelines, and we and her watch the power of this group of people and the resources required just to make her comfortable. We're seeing how far they're going to go to make her comfortable. We're seeing what's necessary just to upkeep a whole grocery store for one person and the massive amount of waste that goes into that process, and we see how efficient the hive mind is, that scene is, I think, about the same length, and so much more information is conveyed to us, and the gratuitous length of the scene just hammers home that idea of like, look what you're making them do. Like, look how unreasonable you're doing just for the slightest convenience to yourself because you just don't want to change. And that was awesome. I loved that. But sometimes this technique just isn't used efficiently. It's used in areas where it doesn't need to. And I just find myself dreading when things start to happen. Like, oh man, okay, I get it. Yeah, no, this is what we're doing. Okay, and this is what we're doing. Like, it's like the antithesis of what storytelling is in some aspects. I'm not saying all the time. I do enjoy the show. I'm still watching the show, right? But this idea of like everything should have a purpose, and yet it feels intentional. Like, oh yeah, you think everything should have a purpose? Well, this person wants to paint something. They could just grab paint, but no, I'm going to show them getting in their car, driving to the store, picking up the paint, picking up the rollers, loading it in their car, driving back home, pouring the paint, getting the paint on the brush, using the brush to paint the thing, and then you see the thing. Great, okay, I mean, sure. I really think you could have cut that down. You know, I hate when people say this, but I got it. Nothing happens in this show. Very, very little happens. The promise that we're given at the beginning of the show is that everyone in the world except for 13 people is impacted by this hive mind thing. And the mystery is what's going to happen to the people that aren't part of the hive mind. So I consider the plot anything that progresses that story forward. And very little in the show directly relates to that plot. For instance, this is not, I believe, a spoiler. Carol has to deal with wolves in her backyard. Now, I'm going to ask you, is that the plot, or is that something that happens? You could maybe say like, oh, that was just one piece that brought Carol to where she is today. But I just find that, does that need so much screen time? Like, surely there must be other ways to show this wearing down of her psyche and this exhaustion that she's going through than having all these tiny little things that take so much time, right? The show starts out so strong. It is just mystery after mystery after mystery, and answer after answer after answer. And it's just so riveting. We get this mysterious message, these people trying to fix it, and then there's rats and people are kissing each other, and then people are walking weird, and some people are frozen, and then what's going on, right? What's the mystery in the wolves episode? Carol wakes up and the hive mind is leaving. And then the milk, I guess. That's it. 60 minutes. And those are the two things that we deal with in that episode. I guess if you want to be generous, you can say, well, there's the wolves. What's she going to do with that? Okay, well, she deals with the wolves. Oh, well, how is she going to take care of her garbage? Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a mystery, I suppose. Oh, it didn't go super well. Like, it was funny. Don't get me wrong, I laughed. But, like, then she finds the milk cartons. That's the 4 things that happen in that whole episode. That whole episode. 60 minutes is spent on those 4 plot points. Anytime something that happens now on screen, I keep hearing that little voice in the back of my head asking me, what's the point? Like, what are they trying to convey? What are we learning here? And if I can figure it out in the first 5 seconds, I'm dreading that it's going to take another several minutes just for the scene to end. And it shouldn't be that way. I don't know almost any other show that's like that. There's so many countless examples in Better Call Saul and in Breaking Bad where it's slow, but we're still learning so much, as in with the grocery store scene, right? And if you don't really believe me, I think you have to ask yourself this: what has changed in the show so far? There's the first episode, which is huge. And it's a great episode because so much is happening. And then in episode 2, Carol is mad and she doesn't know what's going on and she has no idea how she's going to solve her goal. And by the end of episode 6, Carol is mad and she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't know how to accomplish her goal. Yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the show. I am enjoying it so far, but it is kind of losing me. But it seems like at the end of the last episode I watched, which was episode 7, we were starting to finally make some progress because in episode 6, they finally told us the actual problem that needs to be resolved. They made the promise at the beginning of, well, what's going to happen to the survivors and how are they going to get out of this? But that's not actually the real problem. The real problem doesn't come until 6 episodes in when we find the real threat that Carol and presumably the whole world now need to face together, or they need to find a way to resolve it because something terrible is going to happen. That's the real threat, and we are just figuring out that now. And at the end of episode 7, characters are finally making progress, and like days are passing now where things are happening. So I'm looking forward to it. But um, yeah, as of right now, though, just some gripes I have, I guess. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I hope I'm not crazy. I see everyone raving about the show and how wonderful it is, but me and a friend of mine have just been like, I don't know. It's like kind of boring, you know? And I hate when people just shove that aside and say like, "Oh, you have a short attention span. You're just an iPad kid." It's like, no, man. Like, I loved all the previous shows. I'm a huge enjoyer of slow cinema, slow television, slow storytelling in general. Um, but this is just slow, kind of for the sake of being slow sometimes, as I had pointed out in my previous um, example. So I'm not going to harp on about it, but let me know if I'm completely out of my mind. I like to think I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's a terrible show. I don't think it's the next coming of Christ either. So I'm just hoping that it starts to get to that, though. I want to see it at Breaking Bad levels. I want to see it at Better Call Saul levels, but I'm not seeing that so far. And hopefully it gets there. So, yeah. Anyway.